Have you ever brushed off advice as basic or overused because it was too cringe? Maybe you hear believe in yourself, adopt a growth mindset, and never actually consider it. When I was coming up with ideas for the next video, I had the same thought process. I can't talk about this, it's too cringe, reword this, it sounds corny. And then I caught myself doing that and started thinking, when did it become weird to want to improve yourself? This way of thinking of not wanting to listen to advice because it comes off as trying too hard, I feel, is pretty concerning. The wrong thing is being focused on here. We're too caught up in the looks of things when growing as a person should be purely for ourselves. This whole mess of self-improvement and how it's been sensationalized and ridiculed is so messy, and it's what I want to talk about in this video. So where exactly did self-improvement start to become cringe, that it's weird to pursue earnestly? It's a messy subject with many angles. For one, the whole internet is an echo chamber where a lot of negativity can be spread around, amplified by algorithms. People may look down on the topic due to things not working the way they felt it should, that it doesn't subscribe to the exact version of self-improvement they believe is correct, that it quietly reveals something they don't want to acknowledge, or simply that they've heard it so many times they started to disregard it as flimsy cookie-cutter advice. There's a bunch of messy reasons with too many things to count. There's also this grouping of self-improvement into genres where people have popularized certain mindsets and lifestyles for what improving should look like. Hustle culture, locking in, a day in my life content. It's created this sense of aesthetic sameness where people are all trying and showing off the same thing, living the same way to the point where they all start to melt together. One of the important ones I want to discuss is toxic positivity. It's the idea that you simply have to keep a positive outlook on things no matter how bad or painful the situation is. On paper, it doesn't sound bad. When things are looking bad, it does you no good to dwell on the negatives, right? So instead, you look on the bright side and keep moving forward. But it starts to become toxic when people choose to ignore those problems thinking that pure positivity is a blanket solution. They choose to skip past the problem, which, left unaddressed, may hurt them even more in the future. All of these different forms of what personal growth should look like being popularized and championed online has made established advice sound preachy in comparison, like the thing your parents and teachers would tell you. And as a result, it started to become viewed as a decoration with no real weight or sense of action behind it, and therefore weak and even cringe to consider. It feels like self-improvement has become a commodity. It's turned into a course to be bought, an answer to be sold, or some identity to adopt. We made it feel like there was a solution to it, a set of steps to follow. And throughout all of it, we made it into something to show off. It feels like we put definitions on what self-improvement and success looks like now, that there are certain admirable ways to pursue improving yourself, that the way you need to grow has to be unique, otherwise you're trying too hard. And the one thing I want to make clear is that showing off success and self-improvement through these lenses is not what growth looks like. What you see online is hardly even a fraction of what's actually going on for that person, if anything is even happening to begin with. And more importantly, people who only show their successes in fancy schedules are not representative of what real consistent growth looks like. Showing off improvement like a trophy doesn't mean it's earned. It's just a show standing in for real growth, which is trying to imitate. I used to buy into this kind of image myself, specifically with locking in and purely focusing on improving myself. I've cut off contact with all my friends, purely focused on improving on the one thing I thought would bring me joy. I gave up simple pleasures and hobbies such as gaming since it felt like a waste of time that I could have been using to build myself up. What I quickly realized was that it simply wasn't sustainable, and even during that whole phase, I'd burn out so often that I'd go on social media to ignore the exhaustion, and probably spend as much time scrolling as I did trying to force this mindset. We treat life like a math equation, that there's a specific formula to get where you want and a definite solution at the end, when it's really not that at all. As you get older, you start to realize that nothing is ever set in stone, nothing is guaranteed, and the path forward ends right when you feel like you've just stepped on it. It didn't feel like that to begin with because for most of us, our lives were put on treadmills without us needing to worry about where we were going. We went to school, moved up grades, and made connections in these closed environments. For some of us, this process might have been a bit different, a bit bumpier or a bit smoother, but nonetheless, moving forward felt automatic. And as we get older and more of that responsibility gets put on us to decide what happens next, we start to get cold feet. There's no manual for what comes after being a kid, so a lot of us look to build ourselves up as a way to find an answer. So what exactly is self-improvement then, and what is it for? In my opinion, it's just another label we use, something to simplify the problems we have and make sense out of what we think will help us. I personally like to believe that self-improvement is directly looking at your problems, analyzing how you want to solve them, and honestly working on handling them bit by bit over time. What I can say with certainty is that self-improvement shouldn't become a personality to show off purely for validation without actual work being put in to affirm it. Self-improvement is exactly in the name. It should be for yourself. It's done for you and not decided on by others. Only you know what's hurting you most and what you want to do moving forward. Or maybe you don't, and that's fine. If anything, it's probably the most common feeling. To be honest, a lot of what I'm saying right now might be complete bullshit, because I also don't fully know what growing as a person really is. A lot of people don't. And what you hear is mostly just a perspective on what has helped others who may or may not be further down the road compared to you. For anyone who feels like they're struggling or doesn't think that they can improve themselves, what I can say is that it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. What you need to do right now is relax. Slow down and think honestly. Look at your situation. Look at what's in your control and what's out of it. Then focus only on what is in your control. Focus on improving, and don't put yourself down when it's not needed, especially for things out of your control, because there's not much that can be done, so there's no point in worrying about it anyways. And maybe over time, those things will be in your control, or maybe it will just vanish altogether. What's most important is that you're being honest with yourself when you're thinking about all this. Growth is about searching, being unsure and overthinking, but getting used to it over time and moving forward anyways. You don't need to and shouldn't try to make drastic changes at the start or all the time. What personally worked for me is taking as small of steps as possible at the start so that there's hardly any friction at all. Then you gradually work your way up, slowly getting used to the feeling of discomfort, and once that feeling starts to fade, you take another step, never letting that discomfort fade, but never letting it overwhelm you. Maybe you've heard of this advice before, but it genuinely works if you stick with it, and it's been monumental for getting me to actually improve myself and follow through with what I wanted to do. Self-improvement isn't something you can rush, and if you think it is, you may slip and fall, hopefully to look back later and see that it was just you thinking you could get a head start. What I'd tell you to do next is to take what I've said and actually act on it. If things still feel overwhelming, just know that it doesn't need to be. You can start small just like how I did. Maybe get up and walk around, put your phone down, look out the window. You can do some quick exercises, make a small meal, hum a song you like, whatever it takes to clear up your thoughts and get the ball rolling. I'm aware that it's completely hypocritical to make advice videos like this telling others to make a change when it all just feeds into an endless content loop of listening to advice to feel better without ever actually acting. But regardless, I think it's better than never seeking an answer to begin with. Even if this video doesn't get someone to act and they move on to the next one, maybe I would have nudged them enough and that next video will get them to act instead. It's videos like these that help me get out of my rut, and it's exactly why I made this channel, to help people like me get out of it. My goal with this video is to try and clear up some things about self-improvement and what it actually looks like to pursue it. This was all a bunch of messy thoughts I wanted to get out. I wanted to experiment with scripting more to properly convey what I wanted to say, and hopefully I got something of value across. Anyways, this is Doremi. Thanks for watching. See ya.